Hello everyone, we are live again. This is Simaya Kar. I'm chair of IEEE Women Engineering Turkey, and you're watching Empowering Women Summit 2020. And this is a summit that we are actually hosting amazing guests from 8th of December till 17th of December. And there are really special guests, but I have to name Basak Yuksel. She's a wonderful woman and really a role model in engineering and technology field. But there are some role models and special people in someone's life, and she's one of them for me because, I met with her when I was student in the first year, when I was volunteering for an IEEE student branch, and in a room that she was alumni for my student branch, and she was a role model. Like, she was representing a Turkish woman, representing outside of her comfort zone, and reached a lot of success with an amazing story. And following her over the years, just like even her wise few words from her changed my life. Imagine knowing her even more. So actually, it's a really great opportunity to host Basak Yuksel today in this summit. So giving more opportunity to other people, other women and men all around the world, hearing her story and advices. Um, about inclusive leadership. Today, our topic is inclusive leadership. She will address, but I'm sure we will hear inspirational words and stories from her. That's why I'm so excited. I would like to welcome Basak Yüksel, for her speech.
Thank you, Simay. It is really very special for me to be here today, and thank you very much for your very nice words. And I think it is the same for me. I feel the same. It was great honor for me, to be part of IEEE and to take part in different activities and to contribute the success of IEEE in Turkey and in the world in general. So I'm happy to be part of this community.
Thank you so much, Basak. Before starting your presentation, actually your speech, I would like to remind the audience, this is an interactive session. So anytime during the presentation, you can ask your questions on the chat. So we will be addressing all your questions to Basak during the presentation, or the right after we have a Q&A session. So all of your questions will be addressed. So you can feel free to leave your comments and questions anytime during the session. And thank you so much. And Basak, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So it is great to meet you all, and I feel really lucky that I have this opportunity to share my feelings and also my experience with you on especially on inclusive leadership. So let me start a bit of my background and why this is the topic of today and how it lead me to this point. So I have been a member of IEEE from the first day in my university life. So I feel really lucky that I met the right people and the right group in the university, and it really changed my life. And like what I am doing today is really a reflection of those days, because I learned how an international organization is and how differences and diversity can affect the way I think, the way I work, and also how I live my life. So I really feel very special. I really feel very privileged on this opportunity that I became a member of IEEE from the very early days in my life. So I think I spent a lot of my university life and also later as volunteering in IEEE, but not only in the local section, but also in the global organization, and it led me to understand the differences and how we are different in different ways. So so actually, I think it was one of the reasons I went to, for example, after my PhD, I went to Japan and just to experience different cultures and learn from others. And then I came back to Turkey and I worked in both local and global organizations or companies in Turkey. And actually, I realized that I really enjoyed as being part of IEEE. I really enjoyed working in international environment and in a very diverse organization. So it was the reason maybe that I started to look for different opportunities for my career, and now I ended up in AWS, Amazon Web Services in UK, and where I am based now. And what is special and what I like most in my daily life and at work is it's a very diverse team, like in IEEE. And we don't have, like in my team, there is no two people from the same country. And most of the people are not living in their original country. So they live somewhere else and they are part of this organization. So why I'm telling this brings a lot of colors to the team. And I realized that this is why we are achieving high and we are successful as a team. And I think it is very important to recognize the differences and diversity and to be very inclusive for everyone and respect each other. So it is the reason today I want to focus on a bit or share my experience on diversity and inclusion, especially as working as an inclusive as inclusive as possible in the team in my working life. So just I want to start with some focus on the definitions. I will be very short. So it is like diversity, equity, and inclusion all together. Like inclusion is not alone. It comes with other very big focuses like diversity. So it is very important for me to really digest those terminologies and really understand what they really refer. So diversity is the combination of unique skills, experiences, perspectives, and especially cultural backgrounds that make us who we are now. And it is really about being represented. So it is really important to be represented in a international or in a multicultural environment. So equity, on the other hand, is the guarantee for fair treatment, access, opportunity, and advancement for all, while we are striving to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation of some groups. So in short, equity is all about fairness. And inclusion is being valued, trusted, connected, and informed, so that we can deliver the best results for who we are working for. So it is all about belonging. So I think this is not only in our working life that we are referring to these very important areas, but it is in general where we live, how we live the life, these are reflected on. So when we go to the diversity, so diversity means each of us is different in different way, but on the other hand, diversity is also intersectional. So you can be diverse in more than one thing. So for example, diversity can be in race, education, can be disability, can be ability, can be age, gender, experience. It can be language, culture, or ethnicity. So it can have many dimensions. And as I was trying to explain, it is intersectional. You may have more than one of those as different from from the rest. So this actually brings us to inclusion. So these differences actually, like we all belong to some of those, and inclusion means that we accept and understand those differences, and we don't apply them for the people. So we realize the variation in the organization or in the team we belong to. And there are some barriers to inclusion. So we are willing to be inclusive as possible, but there are some barriers like language, cultural preferences, and distance or location, and very importantly, unconscious bias is the very important effect in inclusion. And we have microaggressions. I will not go into detail of all of this, but I would like to focus on unconscious bias, because I think it is one of the biggest barriers to become inclusive in any organization. So unconscious bias is something in our perception. So when there is an information around us, it is really perceived in a very different levels in our brain. So this also includes communication, right? When you communicate with somebody, there are many different levels of understanding of the things or the information that is being exchanged. So our perception is different, and it can it can impact many different things. And in our I think in our work life, unconscious bias can affect or can impact like who gets the project, who gets promoted, who we are inclined to hire, like in the hiring decisions, it also affects, and who we listen in a meeting. When we are meeting with people, unconscious bias affects even how we are here listening people and how we are digesting the information in that. So we all have unconscious biases. That's fact, and we can't. It is something coming from our background, from our culture, and many different. There are many different dimensions or factors affecting that. But it's a fact. But I think the important thing is to become aware of our biases and to act accordingly. So I want to give an example, like in hiring process, like when we interview candidates, for example, we have a lot of biases, like even starting from the CV or the name of the person, it appears. For example, when we have when we have an interview, education level of that person may affect our decision, experience may affect our decision, cultural similarities we have may affect. So first impression, affinity bias, like which organizations we belong to. So for example, for me, if I see IEEE as a person with IEEE membership, can affect me in the direction that I have a bias, positive bias for that person compared to other candidates. So these are all reality. So we all have a background and experiences that brings us some biases in reality. But I think the important thing is how we deal with that. And I would like to focus one important bias. It is similarity bias, because it is, I think, one of the biases that affects our decisions a lot. So what it means? So if we have, like, as I gave example of IEEE, right? It is, I think, a good example for similarity bias. If somebody is from the same university as I am, or if somebody has the same hobby that I have, or if somebody worked for an employer that I worked before, and from the same city that I am, from the same cultural background that I am, this is a similarity bias, because it brings the interaction with that person much become much friendly or close when you have those similarities with other people. But I think the important thing here is to get aware of it, and to put maybe to put extra effort to overcome or to counteract the potential impact of the similarity bias. And to be, actually, it is good point, because the goal, I mean, the choice we have is, or what we can do is to interrupt the bias by taking some actions. Like we can try to be more open by asking questions and bringing in other perspectives to expand our point of view. If other persons, so we can have different backgrounds that will, I think this is one of the common things happening in the work life, especially in the diverse organizations, like communication. It's very important, but when you communicate with somebody which is who is from very different background, understanding each other and maybe understanding our perspectives becomes a bit more difficult than from a person that we have more similarities. So it is important to be open and to try to bring in other perspectives to expand your point of view intentionally. And I think it's second point is, to make sure we don't have bias on our decisions, we can come up with some objective criteria. So we can we will intentionally don't make assumptions, but we can come up with some objective criteria to base those decisions on. And also with yourself and internally, when you decide on something, you can think of why. So you can ask yourself repeatedly why question to help you to double check your objectivity. It is also important that you maybe you question your decisions. And it is also it is also good that you encourage ideas, different ideas. Like you can ask questions to people to come up with to listen their own perspective in detail, ask more questions to understand what the real perception or perspective is from to be able to understand the other person. So there are some I mean, it is all about questioning yourself and asking questions, setting mechanisms or objective criteria to overcome the possible biases. So why I'm talking about unconscious bias, because it is we are all different, and it is important to open your heart or your mind to differences. And to become an inclusive leader, this is I think the base. It is the most important, one of the most important things to focus on those biases we have. So we need to start to be inclusive leader. We need to start from ourselves, and to be open and become flexible, more flexible to different ideas, opinions, and to understand, to try to understand different differences on people. So inclusive leadership, actually, it means that inclusive leadership is not about you feeling inclusive. Actually, it is all about how other people or other team members feel working with you, or feel about your leadership. So it is important that like you become an inclusive leader if the team members are treated respectfully and fairly, and they feel that, and they feel valued, they feel the sense that they belong, and they are confident and inspired. So I think this is when you can say you are an inclusive person. And it is the core, right? How other people are feeling about working with you, and so there are some like inclusive leaders have some some common characteristics, let me say, and one of them is commitment, leading by example. So to diversify, challenge the status quo, and hold everyone accountable. So ownership is very important for people feeling valued and treated respectfully. So making people accountable, and giving ownership, the responsibilities to people is part of it. So you lead by example, but you also hold people accountable in what they are doing. So another important point actually is courage and humility. So you will see, like, when somebody when you feel included in a team or in a community, it's more about people around you being modest about capabilities. Admitting mistakes is very important character in this scope, and it is also important to create space for others to contribute. So being transparent in the sense that everybody feels free or feels comfortable to contribute also. And we discussed about unconscious bias. I think one of the other points in becoming more inclusive is being aware of our biases. We all have biases, and we all have perceptions on different things, or on people, or some behaviors, or about some problems or happenings, or in our communication. So it's important to accept those biases, and to be aware of those biases, and to try to overcome those. So it is, I think, from the interaction with people perspective, it is important to focus on strengths of people, and also it is important to create space for growth and change. So we, like, as human beings, we have intention to focus on our weaknesses, we can say, or growth areas. But actually in the work life, I think it is important to focus more on strengths we have, and of course have the space for growth areas. It doesn't mean we will not work towards our weaknesses or development areas, but it is more important to focus on our strengths and contribute to the team from our strengths point of view. Because if you have a diverse team, and it means that you have people who has strengths and development areas in different domains. So it means that if you combine the team as a one team, then you have a lot of strength, compared to an individual with focused strength and growth areas independently. So when you combine the team together, you can achieve more than you can do it in individual level of each person. So it is also important to be curious about others. So you know what it means. So it is like being open, having an open mindset, and having deep curiosity about others, and listening without judgment. And active listening is a very important very important thing here. It is if you are open to listen actively, it means that you try to seek empathy, and you try to understand people around you, or whom you are interacting with. So being open to different ideas and experiences actually enable growth for you and for the people around you. I think the diversity brings also cultural intelligence. So we are all coming from different backgrounds, and each background we are coming from actually brings a level of higher intelligence to the conversation or to the team. So not everyone sees the world from the same cultural frame, but this is not a bad thing. Actually, this is a very good thing because it will bring color to the table, and it will bring more intelligence in terms of from the differences we have. And another important point is effective collaboration. So diverse thinking teams is greater than the sum of its parts. So if you can empower each other, if you can pay attention to diversity of thinking, if you create an environment with psychological safety, and it will bring effective collaboration and much bigger success at the end. In summary, when people are felt to be treated fairly and respectfully, and when they feel valued and recognized, this brings the success to the team as a result automatically. So in summary, if we summarize what inclusion is actually, so it is not about ourselves. It is about how people feel, how people actually feel working with you, and if they feel valued, if they feel trusted, if they feel connected, and if they feel informed or acknowledged, this is actually the success for an inclusive leadership. So I think if I give examples from my team and how I am trying, I'm learning every day. I'm not there yet to become an inclusive leader, but I practice every day. I try to be different every day. I try to reflect on my actions every day, and I try to get feedback. I think feedback is very important to grow in general. So feedback from my team, feedback from my peers, from my leadership managers. It is how we grow, right? And to become more inclusive, to become more open-minded, more respectful. It comes with the feedback we can get from people, and it comes with the outcomes we deliver as a team at the end of the day. So this is how I understand and how I practice inclusive leadership. And if you have any questions on this or in general, I will be happy to answer.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all those insights. That is, well, I already have questions. So we can start from my questions. Well, actually, you summarized and you highlight many important things already. So, well, thank you. Would like to ask you, because just as like you described naturally in a multicultural environment, because you have a lot of experiences in different cultures, like working with different cultures, and also out of your comfort zone in from very early stages of your career till now. You have a lot of experiences as a manager and just like in the leadership level, and just like overviewing all your experiences you have already had in your life. I would like to ask you the cultural barriers on our perception of this team management, like, because it's still, when your team dimensions change and your company culture change, your country changes, and you have already lived in several countries, like, you don't need to address one specific country and give an example, but like how we control our boundaries when we change the multicultural environment as well, because not every multicultural environment is the same.
I think this is a very good point, and I think adaptation is one of the dimensions here. So I know, like, if you go to a very different culture, it requires adapting yourself to those culture also, because like, I think there are two things here. Going to a specific cultural environment requires adaptation, but to me, if you move to a very international environment like IEEE or any company with multicultural combinations, then it is more open. So you need to you feel like, for me, for my experience, for example, I went to Japan and now I'm working in UK, but in a very, very global team. So very intercultural or multicultural team. So I can tell you the difference. Like, when I was in Japan, I tried to learn. It was very interesting for me, and I really liked it. It's the reason I stayed there, and I wanted to go there, and not only because of the technical capabilities they have in my field. I was doing more robotics and machine learning at that time. So, but also their cultural differences, or their cultural perspective was very different, and it was attractive to me. So I went there to experience it. But like in Japan, I was more adapting myself to the existing culture, and I was bringing my own strengths onto the table on top of it. But it requires adapting yourself. Like, if you work in a very let's say our own country, like Turkey, if you work in a very very local company, let's say, with local mindset, then you need to adapt to that local culture, right? So, and on top of it, you try to put your strengths to the table. Of course, it doesn't mean if you see some conflicts, or if you see some contradictions with your beliefs, then of course it is something to rethink. I understand that, but otherwise, I think adaptation is the key there. But if I go to the more multinational environments, I think then respect becomes the number one importance for working very fluently with people and smoothly with people. To be honest, I prefer to work in multicultural environments, because it brings a lot of strength, and it brings a lot of color and richness to the table. So I'm fine to work in local environments, but I feel that I really belong to the more international or more multicultural, more diverse environments, and I can contribute more in such environments. And this came to me from IEEE. So I learned this. I learned myself that I want this from my experience in IEEE.
Absolutely. Well, actually, my question is a little bit relevant for the point. Sometimes you need to make decision to go back to um, after having all those experiences, and like, we are IEEE members and volunteers, so we are very used to being in that multicultural environment. So it's actual adaptation is another level for us. Like, we are very used to, and we are actually looking forward to that. And it's always under your control to go back and make your own decisions, because we have our power to make the decisions. But sometimes, for those who experience this, I just want to ask, even the one recommendation is just like, always you have your own right to make your own decision. But sometimes some of us like makes decision, or just like going out of your comfort zone again, and with an ideal to go back to your zone to contribute with your own knowledge. And some of us really have like make those decisions in some parts of our life, and it's really hard to going back the less multicultural environment that we're used to. So
Yeah.
do you have advices for those who experience this, how to deal with that conditions, without just living and changing your life, because it's like changing your life is one option, but for those who needs to stay there for a while, or that part of their life, and need to deal and change the environment they have, even though it's really tough and hard.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very relevant point you made. And to be honest, I think we should start with our boundaries. So we have
Mhm.
values and we have boundaries, and and on top of it, being flexible is a very good thing. But flexibility actually comes um, until some point. So you can't. Yeah, there are values, that core values you have, that you can't change or you don't want to change, because it makes you you, and it makes you happy, it makes you uh, feel, you know, feel respectfully treated, especially, etc. So you just can't change it. So flexibility to me comes after that core. So why I'm saying this? So I think it is adaptation comes also with the flexibility, right? So I think it is important to keep your values, because if you lose your values in an environment, it you can't. It's not sustainable. Then it requires you to look for other opportunities and changes. But it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that you adapt. If you can, if you like, it has borders. If you can keep your core values still in the environment that you are in, which can be very different from your previous environments, and which can be very specific culture. But you need to ask those questions, like, do I keep my core values still being here? And if you keep your core values, then the next stage is being flexible or adapting your style to this environment. But I think uh, everyone has the right, or should have the right, to keep the core values they have.
That's a really good point. Yes, and actually, those core values we have, we actually, like, they keep us in the environment that we want to also change and contribute. Because not always, like, we make one decision, and if we don't like one thing, and we just quit from everything. So we always try. It's also another power, and it's also um, another level in our life that we have a lot of learning from. So that's another, we should also give a try when we experience, because life is unexpected. Sometimes we have plans, we have a project, or we have ideals to go with one direction, but life actually brings more challenges on that direction that makes life even more beautiful. Then we need to deal with them. So in this case, keep your own core values, and they will help you to deal with all the conditions, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think I should add one thing here, because I mentioned about feedbacks and how valuable they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being open to change is also important, in the sense that by getting more feedbacks, you may realize that be open to change. And by getting, those feedbacks from many people, may um, may have a light in your brain to tell you that, oh, I think I may be wrong, like my perception on several things may. So I'm not saying, like, okay, core values are very important, but I think getting feedback, being open to feedbacks to grow is also important. Maybe I'm conflicting with myself, right? At the beginning I said, like, keep core values. Yes, keep core values, but just listen others, like, try to understand what they are saying. Like, if you repeatedly get a feedback on something, it may be good to act on it. It may be good to question. So don't hesitate to question yourself also. So this is not a very simple process. I'm talking about a very complex process. Keep core values, but also open to the feedbacks, and have a feedback loop to change yourself, or to be open-minded to change. These are all important. So it's not very simple, But of course, we need, so by time we change, maybe slowly, or some people slowly or faster. We all change, which means our values are also changing, maybe by feedbacks or with experience. With many factors we change. So I think it's important to keep the core values, but it is also important to be open to the feedbacks and to question. If you keep receiving the same feedbacks, you don't need to accept all the feedbacks as it is, but you can digest them, or you can question yourself based on these feedbacks, and you can reflect them on your own. So
No, actually, that's a really good point, and it was not confusing, but you clarified even better, because it's not an easy answer. Like there's no one single answer for that actually, because there are a lot of dimensions around, and you need to balance also. Just like
yeah,
keeping your core values, being open, listen everything, but don't listen everything, because you cannot make everyone happy. You
yeah,
cannot change everything, and you need to be open, uh, also for feedback, and you need to open to be also part of this change. So that's a lot of dimensions around, so
yeah,
it's not an easy answer, and
yeah.
it's not easy to make it. Well,
And
that's why
also
we are learning a lot, right?
yeah, yeah, and also they say that focus on the things you can control to be happy.
That's right. And we cannot really control everything. And we shouldn't
Yeah,
actually control. If we control everything, we cannot change. And
yeah,
actually, if we don't change, the life and the world is changing. So we
yeah,
need to adapt. Adaptation is actually the key, probably the one of the most important key in this story, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree.
Well, since we mentioned about the change, well, I would like to ask one more question. So, well, we have changed a lot this year. So we actually discover our own potential, discover our values one more time, and we learn how to adopt the hardest condition of the history in our life. Not the whole history, but our part of the history. But I would like to ask about the change in 2021. How do you see the change? How do you see the leadership? How to deal with these challenges? How is your description for the inclusive leadership? And how do you see the multicultural environment's direction in 2021? Because world will go back to normal, but in transition, and the normal will not be the same normal anymore.
Yeah,
So how do you see all of these?
yeah. I think, to be honest, I should confess that I miss, going to office and meeting people. That's for sure. But in the meantime, yeah, same time, I got used to working remotely and connecting to people remotely. That's also like we should have to, and it was the process, and we went through, and it became like a normal for us to be remote only. And I think the key here is on the remote working, especially now, is to get connected to people more often, to touch base with people more often, and to find different ways of collaboration, and asking how people are become became more important now. So I am, before it was like just given to us to be in the same office, and um, it was very straightforward to communicate with people. But now you need to act intentionally to make it happen. So to me, it is important to just say hi to people, yeah, and to use some of the meetings just to get connected on how people are doing. It is very, it's very critical for me um, to know how people are doing, because before it was given, you were learning automatically being in the same office, but now you need to take action to make it happen. For me, like in the team I'm working on is not located in one place. So before it was also a bit remote for me. like in Europe, we have people distributed in Europe, but still we were coming together more regularly in one office to work together or to get in to sync up together. So it is to me very important now to take intentional actions to get connected with people and to ask how they are doing.
That's very important. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to connect with you and letting you to share your story and your words with the rest of the volunteers, audience around the world, and just like spreading the word.
Yeah.
And like knowing you, but hearing your stories and your advices, like I have to say that I every single day, when I have opportunity to know you more, I respect you even more and more. And thank you so much. On behalf of
I really feel very privileged to be here and to share myself here with you all. And thank you for your very good words. I think it is a reflection of yourself.
Well, on behalf of the IEEE Turkey Women Engineering team, I would like to thank you one more time for your words, opportunities, giving us this opportunity to share your story here and your time and your support, Basak.
Thank you very much.
So before closing, I want to ask your last advices and words for the audience.
Yeah. I mean, don't keep being IEEE member. It is a really good thing. It really adds a lot of things to a person. So I really feel when I look back, it is really something that that made me become myself today, and it really affected my decisions and my life. So I'm really happy being part of this organization. And stay safe and be happy on what you are doing.
Thank you so much for your advices, and thank you, IEEE, for giving us this opportunity to know each other and know all those volunteers around the world contributing the same vision and mission for humanity and technology.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to close the session and would like to remind Empowering Women Summit will continue till December 17th. And you can check out the schedule on the website. And all the sessions will be on live stream here on this channel. Only the networking sessions are closed, but you can find the links on the IEEE Women Engineering Empowering Summit website. So you can get the link. And we would like to meet with you in the networking sessions. Today we have Women in Engineering Affinity Groups meetup, and tomorrow we have another one addressing the technical societies. And the live stream events will continue tomorrow from 6 p.m. GMT 3+3, which is a Turkish time. But we are actually addressing all the time zones, so please check it out. And we would like to meet with you tomorrow again. Thank you so much.